Good evening. This is the rather unusual camera angle, and you'll see a lot of my top of my head, I think. This is the first recording in my new house. New to me, having moved out of my erstwhile marital home. I'm speaking a bit quietly because I'm still a little bit uncertain about here and how much noise I can make. And you won't see much of me. I probably won't talk very coherently because I'm cooking. Fascinating. Got off to a bad start. I have some coconut oil and I can't open it. Normally, or frequently, people ask me to open jars because they can't. The boot is on the other foot this evening. So, although it's not my first choice, I'll be using olive oil. But you really wanted to know that, didn't you? So, where were we? I have moved out. In the eyes of my wife, it's a trial moving out. It may be, I don't know, but here, oh, that's too close, isn't it? Have to put up with that. Whatever, here I am in a very pleasant property that's been made available to me largely through the efforts of my friend who's been very helpful and supportive in this whole issue. And so here I am. Still finding where everything is. And perhaps cooking and talking at the same time isn't ideal, because I know I'm not great at doing that. But we'll give it a try. I have moved some of my possessions out of the previous place, but only a few, just things that I knew were definitely mine and couldn't be contested, which is mostly things I owned, largely things I owned before I got married. And not particularly essential things. It's music, photographs. What else? That's most books. That's most of what I've moved so far. And most of it is still sitting in boxes in the corner of this room. Concentration, peeling garlic. Because I have to sort out bookshelves and shit like that, and I have to finish cleaning here because it needed a clean before I moved in. And ideally it would have been done before I moved in, but that wasn't really. It didn't happen like that. Pause while I turn on the rather annoying induction hob. No exciting food this evening because I haven't actually got anything particularly exciting to cook. So it's quite basic. So what have I got to say? As I think I mentioned in a previous video, no, I didn't, because I get confused between the videos I record here. That's not my head. The videos I record here those that talking and doing something at the same time. I get confused between the videos I record and things I put on a blog, I think you call it, and even things I put on another channel, but that's another story altogether. So I'm not sure what I've shared where. I think did I mention here that at couples therapy, my wife had said quite categorically that she saw the only way forward was to separate, which on the one hand took my breath away, and on the other hand filled me with elation, I have to say. And then when I brought this up the next time we met at the couples therapy, she denied having said it. I might have told you this already. She denied having said it and said that was never her wish, her intention. She was backed up by the therapist, but fortunately, for my own sanity, I had covertly recorded the session, and I have an independently verified recording of this statement. And I brought this subject up. My wife denied having said that, and things carried on as usual for a while. As usual, no communication, blah blah blah. And eventually I communicated to her that I thought this was the only separation was the only way forward, using slightly mendaciously the words that she used to me, but that went over her head. Straighten up. Interesting to watch that. After an interval of a week, she replied agreeing with what I'd said about the separation idea. And then the very next day, we had a quite productive discussion about how it might work, or how to make it work. Because the important thing to me was that she could carry on with her business, and that I didn't take money that wasn't strictly my due. So we had this fruitful discussion. She talked about ways that she might carry on, or alternatives to carrying on, and it all seemed very satisfactory. It all seemed to be working out quite well. I have to be careful with water here. I have a very limited supply, which tends to mean that I go thirsty most of the time. Not ideal. So after the initial meeting, I thought, great, everything's going well. It's all happening, we're all in agreement. Oh, it's come from the kettle, so it's warm. Which is a bit grim. So I thought that's all fine. Then the next day she came up with some aggressive questions, denials, and so it seemed to be back at square one, almost. Then she went away for another week, which she does all the time. And I think during that week, having discussed this with her and come to an agreement, even though she's backtracked a bit on it, I started moving things out. Things that, as I said at the beginning of this somewhat incoherent, rambling video, things that were definitely mine and weren't like to cause any contention. Is that better? Do I have to clear less? Possibly, but I can't see what I'm doing. I'll be alright. Because initially this place I secured with a deposit until such time I was ready to move in. And then I suddenly had to say, look, I'll pay the first month's rent and move in. Anticipating that I would move in X days, some days a week and working some days. And then I moved in for a couple of days. My wife came back from being away. And we had an event to do. This isn't what I was going to talk about. We had an event to do for work. Downlighters. I really don't like downlighters, these things. Don't like them. So on the day she was coming back, I went back to my former home with the intention of being there and helping her get ready for work. She came back and then spent the whole time fucking around with her laptop doing God knows what. And I'm just standing around thinking, when are we going to do some work? When are you going to decide what needs to be done and we can get on with it? This went on for a whole evening with me saying, so when are we going to start? What are we going to do? And eventually it was getting late and I had to precipitate work. I had to push to get it started. I'm peeling something and I needs my attention as I do it up here. I can just pretend I'm looking at the camera. And by this time I was thinking, looking at the work to be done, I'm going to be staying here again, staying here overnight and into the next day, and it's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be nothing for me to do because there isn't that much work, or certainly not ready. So I talked of going away, coming back here, and my wife didn't seem to accept this. Or she did, but then when it came for me to go, she got a bit upset. Because perhaps she hadn't understood anything about my going. One thing about living in a different house that isn't one's own is that one has to keep it a bit cleaner than one does one's own. Attention demanded. So I endeavoured to secure from her a commitment that she would call me when she had work to do the next day, which she didn't do. That's today. And I spent today, some of it sorting out being here, cleaning, as I mentioned. waiting to hear from her, I sent her a message and she said where she'd got to with work, and I thought, oh, that's almost done. And to cut a long story short, I said that I won't come over this evening because really if I did I'd have to stay and then there'd be a long time tomorrow morning when there wasn't any work to do. I've been here 15 minutes and I said fuck all. So I said I'd go over tomorrow morning to pick things up and go off and do this event. So we haven't really got any further with talking about the separation. There's no lid for this pan. I could put a plate on, couldn't I? Because it needs it. Hello, Toby the dog. With the property come 3 dogs. One of whom comes in because he wants to eat. Hello, Toby. Nothing for here. You don't eat vegetables, do you? And I suspect the way you're licking your lips, you've just eaten. Still, nice to see you. I really can't do something and talk at the same time. I will need a plate. Can I get a plate out without disturbing what's going on here? Yes. This would be very nice to take on. Pause. We have yet to finish discussion. She's come up with various, what was that? I don't know, reasons why I should stay. She wants to, one of them has come up more than once, is she wants me to come back and work on the house and garden, for which she will pay me. But I don't want to do that. I don't have the knowledge, the experience or the inclination. And the point is that living here, paying rent, I need to work to earn money to pay the rent. I've said that I will, as far as I can, help her with the business for an interim period to enable it to keep on going, and that I will carry on paying the bills from the joint account because she has no... It is hot. Clean tea towel is called for. That's more of my precious water gone. So I would do what I could to help her keep on going, short of moving in or staying there and being there all the time. But we've got a long way to go. Yes, I do feel some guilt leaving her with the house and garden, But then it's not just me that hasn't addressed it, so I can feel less guilt in some ways. Do I have anything else to say? Yes, I had more to say, but it might have to come back to this because my attention is demanded here with the cooking, and I'm not keeping a coherent train of thought. Well, what can I say? I'm very happy here at the moment. There are potentially privacy issues, but the new me can cope with that, can't I? I do need to find work in order to pay the rent. I can cover things for a short while, but that leaves me with nothing apart from this nebulous, minute pension, which will arrive sometime when I choose. I'm not looking forward to the prospect of finding work, but it's always going it's always going to have to happen. I was always going to have to find work. The working with my wife was only really a temporary thing that dragged on for 10 years or so. And yes, I did partly carry on with it because I didn't want to have to find another job. But now I have to. A bit more chopping. Yes, find another job and start a new life. Exciting times. It is exciting. It could be anxious making, concerning, but I'm not saying it's without anxiety, but it's something new and exciting. So we shall see what happens going forwards. And next time I will not record a video whilst I'm doing something else. And maybe I can talk about what I wanted to talk about, intended to talk about, which, who knows, may even be interesting, coherent, joined up. Anyway, thank you for listening if you have listened or watched. And if you haven't, well, thank you for not watching as well.